All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dance Studio Network podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Chatham, and joining me in the house today are two special guests who have been with us for the last few days. Go ahead and tell everybody who you are.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Isabelle Vidosh.
And I'm George Vidosh.
Yes.
Thanks for having us on.
All right. Well, these two, if you didn't figure it out by now, they are a married couple of dancers, dance professionals, really extensive backgrounds. And I'd love to kind of maybe just get started with where it all began. So come on over into the conversation here.
For me, I guess I wasn't expecting that right out of the gate, but my journey or kind of into dance and then specifically into ballet started about 15, and my sister was taking classes, of course, and so I started with her. And at that point, I was very into basketball, very into sports, and thought, hey, like, this is going to help me. This is going to help my footwork and my athleticism and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Wasn't like opposed for any of the maybe like normal stereotypical things for boys. So whatever, didn't care about that. Was just in it with my sister at like a teenage class. It was all good. From there, I was like, oh, like this is kind of fun. Like also start to get better at it, which was very rewarding to me to like see progression and to be good at something and to get recognized for being good at something. So then I was like, all right, let's keep pushing this and pushing this and see what we can do. So I started late, I guess you would say, for ballet at 15, but then got pretty serious about it. By my senior year of high school, I decided not to play basketball, which was kind of big decision.
Big
like
change
crazy.
there. Yeah.
I was like, what the heck? What's wrong? But not going to play my senior year of basketball, but just focus completely on dance. So then that was probably about the height of it. And I went to a couple of full summer intensives, went to college and majored in kinesiology. I was teaching and dancing, and around that time, Isabelle as well. But there was probably about the height of it when I was most like all into everything, thinking like, this is what I'm going to do. And obviously didn't really pursue it too far, but that's what I have.
Yeah, I love it. Well, like a lot of kids are always trying to get ahead, right? And I know parents sometimes are out there asking like, oh, is it too late for my kid? And what I love to hear is most people I meet in the professional dance world started later. And they usually love it a bit more, so they worked a bit harder. And, where talent can take you so far, work ethic takes you further.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, I think it was very much like all in. Not forever. And I'm being honest, like I'm not anymore all into ballet, but whatever I've done, whatever I do, I'm always going all in on that. So in 2 to 4 years, I was able to like progress quite a bit to a pretty good level. So I would mostly chalk that up to, I don't want to say work ethic, but going all in on that.
Well, you got to like getting committed, getting very committed. And your lovely wife over here. So tell us where the magical story began for you, for your passion and love for dance.
All right. Well, I started dance when I was about 8 years old, actually, but I started in a studio that offered jazz and tap and hip hop and ballet and the whole 9 yards. And I loved it. I loved it there. I didn't have any regrets. I just loved going to dance. But when about 2 years later, when I was about 10, maybe 11, actually, my mom said, hey, there's this ballet school that I want you to try out. And I was like, ballet? Well, I mean, compared to tap and to jazz, like ballet is not really my jam, but my mom made me try it anyway. And I fell in love with it from the very first day. I would speak to my teacher on this one, just her passion for it and her beauty and her attention to detail. It just like drew me in. And from that day moving forward, I was a ballerina.
You knew it.
I knew it.
Oh, wow. I always find it's like there's a spark in moment where a student goes like, this is what I'm about. And you don't know until you kind of try new things and get out of your comfort zone and expose yourself to something you're not familiar with, which that's awesome. And did that motivation kind of spawn really from yourself? Like really going forward? Is that kind of like you knew at that moment, like ballet is what I'm about?
It did. It did. I don't know. Something about my teacher, the friends, the environment, the music, I guess it really made me realize I'm a perfectionist, and I think you find that in all different styles of dance, but in ballet, it's
Well, that's
like,
perfect for that,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
oh yeah, it's perfect.
If you're a perfectionist, ballet is great for you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So I was pretty much all in there. I quit my other studio,
Yeah.
focused on ballet, and I've been focusing on ballet seriously
Yeah.
ever since. And I've continued dancing through my studio. I began to dance professionally as I got older, and then was invited to guest artist around,
Yeah.
and that's something George and I have been able to do together, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And now I teach at the studio I grew up dancing in, which
Wow.
is just a huge blessing. It's like a full circle moment, and
It's special.
I love it.
Well, it can tell, you meet people in this industry that love what they do. They come from a culture that care and that foundation was established, And as far as if you guys don't know, they joined us as a wonderful guest artist at our Nutcracker last year, our Sugar Plum and Cavalier. And you can see the magic when you dance together. But would you tell some people of some of the things you've danced in, some of the programs or lead roles that you've carried kind of over the course of your time dancing?
Yeah. So speaking for myself, I have danced the lead roles in Sleeping Beauty most recently. Actually,
Okay.
George and I danced that just a few weeks ago. So I've been Aurora, Paquita, Kitri and Don Quixote,
Uh-huh.
Odile and Odette in Swan Lake, Hermia in Midsummer Night Dream. Oh boy, what else have I done?
I don't know.
I don't know. The list.
There's a lot there, I know, on the moment. But I would say, when you're going from role to role, like, how do you get your mindset to change to the next group of dancers you're going to work with, as well as different choreography and a different character you got to play? Like, what helps you in that process?
As a dancer,
Yeah.
I study other dancers.
Interesting.
I think that is the key to success in a lot of ways. I mean, you want to be your own dancer, find your own individual artistry, but whenever I was taking on a lead role, I would YouTube every version, every ballet I could find, and I would study every lead role, their facial expressions, the way they transition from this side of the stage to that side of the stage, and I would essentially just choose my favorite, choose what I resonated the most with, and then I would go in the studio and work on all of those little details.
Yeah.
But then there's also just the character side to it, where each character has their own personality.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you're playing characters who have a completely different personality than you do in real life. Like Swan Lake, for example, when I had to play the white swan and the black swan is...
Ooh, which one did you like more?
I liked the black swan better, which is funny
because you're a very sweet person. So is it like going to a very dark role to pull out something that people wouldn't normally see from you, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It was a little bit unexpected for me to enjoy that role more, because
Interesting.
it's not my personality at all, but it's just so fun to dive into a new personality. It's a challenge. It's an acting challenge.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, I think, this is what's cool that you mentioned that. And it's good that kids understand that, you draw inspiration from other artists. In today's culture of everybody's trying to be better than everybody and this real fast-paced thinking, there is a joy in this journey to say man, how did that person do that? How did they emulate that technique and that movement across the stage and draw from it and bring inspiration that makes you want to work harder versus I just want to beat you and be better than, and I've got an ego to prove or whatever it is. And again, artistry is such a gift. And the way I personally view it is you get to carry this gift and you get to run with this for a while, but eventually you pass it on to the next person. So the fingerprints of those before that instilled into you now get to pass along to them. And I think it's important that people understand that you're not coming as a whole completed dancer. You're always gathering more, learning more, growing more. And the more people you put yourself around, the more you're going to get those influences, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you learn from a spirit of humility,
Ooh, spirit of humility. That's what we call the golden nugget right there, folks. Spirit of humility. If you are not humble in your approach, you might miss out. Sorry, you just hit those right on the tee there. That's perfect.
That was awesome.
They didn't know that was coming.
Golden nugget.
Jump on in, George.
Okay, my golden nugget then, honestly though, would be everything she said, 1,000% yes, but confidence, but the self-confidence of not like a cockiness, right? So it's the confidence and the humility, because I think to get into any one of those characters, if you're self-conscious or like not committed to it, like that's gonna be super awkward, right? But then I think it's the confidence to go out and do it, and no matter what the character is, and that's on stage and stuff. But then I think the confidence in class, I've always thought this, the best dancers, like the ones who are actually really, really good, are actually the most humble and like the most like nice to each other. Even it's the ones who are like in the middle, or like trying to get there, but maybe not, and they're trying to make up for it by putting someone else down. Or trying to, like, you know what I mean? So it's really the good ones.
Ooh, I like that. We're gonna throw that one up there too. Yes, golden nuggets, baby, golden nuggets today. It's important people hear this though, because when they watch a dancer who's really great, they just see the greatness across the floor, but they don't see the process that person submitted themselves to get there. And I think, again, because you got this Instagram generation, or Snapchat or TikTok, whichever version it is. And I think there's a new one coming out tomorrow, but like these kids are so quick to see what is new. Arts was never meant to be new. It was meant to be traditional. It was meant to be, carried and passed along. So I love that. I love that confidence to, be willing to work and combine it with the humility. And that makes you a great person. I mean, like, whether you dance professionally or not, wherever you go into any sector of life, you're becoming better as an individual, knowing how to collaborate with others. And dance will test you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So we got the good stuff. So what about like those moments that are like, oh, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're frustrated, things aren't clicking. How do you keep yourself going in that perspective?
I think, oh boy. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. We've been there. I think it all comes down to work ethic again in my head. I mean, you're going to come across that in life every day, and not just in the classroom. Yeah. But for the rest of your life, you're going to come across that. And it's just a bridge where you have to decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue working and give it your all, or are you going to say, I mean, you don't grow from that. It really is true what they say. It seems like such a well-known phrase. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah. But in a way, it's true. It's true. You build and you grow from pushing yourself just beyond your comfort zone.
Man, I love that, because we did an episode, and like practice makes progress, not perfection. People aim for perfection, but I have yet to find it in life. And I'll keep telling people, hey, if you see something perfect, please let me know. But everybody I know, we're a group of people. We're always working on, ourselves, how we can grow, whether it's artistry, whether it's, collaborating, relational, whether it's work, whatever it is that you're doing, there's always room to grow. So taking that humble approach and having the confidence to not give up when it's difficult, right? Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's what makes dance so interesting, is that you never really arrive. You've never arrived to perfection.
You've never quite made it. So if you're like, oh, I've got it all, like, it's like, okay, well, you've got one of like 1 million things else that you can still learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it almost sounds like a negative thing, like, oh, you'll never, it's not that you'll never get there, you'll never be good enough. That's not true, but it's just, there's always something to work toward, always something to improve on. And I think that's where it kind of gives you energy to continue going on. It doesn't get boring. Well,
let me ask you this though. In moments where, you feel that tortured moment of like, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's pain, whatever it is you're going through, those tend to be catalyst moments, right? Mm-hmm. And those are like, you have that decision of like, I'm either going all in and doing this, or I'm giving up based on my short-term feelings. Mm-hmm. Right.
And I would be lying if I said I haven't felt that way. I haven't been
She's
there.
not perfect.
There have definitely been moments in life where I'm like, was on the verge of quitting.
Interesting.
This was too much. I'm feeling burnt out.
Yeah.
Why am I even doing this? I'd
Yeah.
rather be home. I don't want to. This is so much work. Why do I even enjoy doing this?
Yeah.
But I never allowed myself to quit. And my teacher, thanks to her, never allowed me to quit either.
Ooh. So having good support in your life.
Good support. Good support. Knowing when to continue on. There's a time where you need to know when to let it go too. But
Yeah.
she could see.
Like, did she knew how to like kind of keep pushing you, but then knowing when to like allow rest.
Yes. Rest is important.
Okay.
Rest is definitely important. And I think as a dancer, you need to know how to take care of yourself when you're not in the studio, when you're given opportunities to rest.
Yes.
Rest well.
So what? Okay. So let's dive in. What are your favorite rest therapies? What do you like to do to decompress? I mean, ice. Do you do ice baths? Do you do like? I mean, that's like a whole new trend. Everybody's doing the ice baths now. Like
I'm not courageous enough to
No,
do the
you
ice
don't do that?
baths.
Okay,
I wish
okay.
I could, but I do try to ice. I definitely do. If something's aching, bothering me,
yeah.
George is good at making me ice when I need to.
Yeah.
Because I'm like
Good
a
partner.
child. I don't want to.
He literally gets to lift you up in dance, and he also throughout your life as well. That's kind of beautiful symbology here. You guys get to carry.
Yeah, get the frozen peas and carrots out. Gotta ice.
You gotta ice it up. So what about you? I mean, you push yourself really hard too. And what's kind of like would be maybe advice or just fun things you've learned that helped you in your body kind of rest well?
Yeah, in terms of like actually recovering,
Yeah.
definitely ice. Ice and get a bucket of ice. Put your whole feet in the bucket. Used to do
Love
that every night at summer intensives and stuff.
Okay.
But for sure that, and then it's just like plan in your rest days too. Like stretch. I mean, foam rolling is a big thing because I'm actually more into athletic side of stuff now. So really, you should get a foam roller and
Yes.
stretch and foam roll and warm up properly. I think actually
Oh man.
jumping into kind of some other stuff, but
Yeah.
maybe even a pet peeve is like the first thing you're doing on your cold muscles is plies. Like, no, shouldn't be. Maybe doing like your own routine or stretching, warming up, foam rolling before. That would be a super habit to build. And then I think one thing that I always think of, or I've been taught this, is if you want to quit, if you want to have like a day off, if you don't want to go today, that's okay. You can feel that way, but just do it anyway. Just go today. And then if you still feel that way tomorrow, maybe you need a rest day or take a day off, right?
Interesting.
But you have to delay like the gratification almost
Yeah.
of like, oh, I'm just going to be lazy and give into it. No, you're going to go full out all in today. But rest is a thing, so maybe you need tomorrow off. But
That's
anyway.
good. No, I think it's again, it's that fine balance. And, this is the whole point. Like we want the tell all, like we want the best. We want to, work through the hardest and find that balance for kids and ourselves to keep growing. And, for me, like I love gym is a great facilitator for that, like self-discipline. And it's like, I didn't want to get up today. Or maybe I was up a little late last night. You go to the gym, you work out, you're like, I feel amazing, right? And then you leave going, I'm so glad I didn't listen to what my comfortable feelings were telling me. But then there are days where, you've worked really hard and you're like, okay, like my body's like, you should be careful. You don't want to injure yourself. And same thing with dance, like knowing when to press, knowing when to rest. That's really, good information for kids to develop because they're trying to learn it for the first time. Like, is this a feeling of like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or is it a feeling of growth? Is it, I need to take a break? And, I think that's really important. And mental health is a really big challenge for everybody, and I think the last few years, it's finally coming into conversation to make sure that like who you're becoming in the process, you're not damaging that person, whether it's mentally or physically, or, taking away from areas of your life that you need to nurture and really give nourishment to. And I think that I've got to watch, some of those kids are like, I want to do unlimited classes. And I'm like, that's awesome. Make sure you balance it, and whether that's 10 classes or 15 or whatever it is, like, are you balancing your school time? You're balancing your family time. You're balancing your dance life time. And it will be different for every person. So it's really interesting, to watch how kids make that decision. And sometimes one kid can handle it. It's like, oh, this is perfect for the routine. Another kid, it wouldn't maybe necessarily work. So to compare them, it would be really an injustice to, the growth of what that kid is trying to accomplish. Because they're like, wow, well, my friend is here more than I am. But again, it's kind of like cutting and dividing and going, all right, did you give your all today? Did you come into the studio and really give it your best? Maybe you don't need an extra class. Maybe you just need to find a little more effort.
Yeah. I mean, this is not scientific at all.
Yeah.
But I know it is scientific in a way because there's a diminishing return if you're just doing more and more and more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that's where you pull off and pulling into other things now as well.
Yeah.
But you work out, cool. Okay, that's awesome. But you can only work out for so hard for so long. You're actually going to get greater return if you go focus on some stretching, meditation, the mental game, nutrition, and actually spend some time there. Okay, now that diminishing return of just like, oh, I'm going to work out for more hours or train for more and more and more classes. Like that's actually not the smartest way to do it. So. Anyway.
Well, I think that's great. I think, just you'll be honest with kids and say, hey, sometimes you need that rest, and that's good. That's healthy. That's how you stay charged. And, but those days you're like, oh, I'm feeling comfortable. It's cloudy. I want to watch Netflix. I just, want to sit in my PJs. Like, that's probably not the time to do that, But, we really want to be part of this conversation to show them, like, yes, you'll have great days. Yes, you'll have some hard days. And you need to learn to listen to your body and your mind to know what you're capable of pressing through and maybe when you need to kind of hold back on. So with that being said, you guys have been with us for our Ballet Intensive. You can see they're rocking our Ballet Intensive shirts. Just came out from a load of presentations. So I'd love for you to kind of share into this, like what it was like, the Ballet Intensive, and things you noticed and anything you want to speak into.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had a great time. Speaking for myself, I had a great time. I just always enjoy meeting new people, meeting new dancers, and it's so fun because you never know what to expect. Guest teaching at a new place. So many different personalities, age levels, levels just in dance in general. But it's just so fun to be able to work with them as a teacher. It's never boring because you have those challenges in front of you. Like, all right, let's see what we've got today. Yeah. But everybody came in with an attitude of just wanting to work hard, wanting to listen. Yeah. In fact, the first day, I think the first class, I thought they were all scared of me because they were just so intense. But like so intense, I think like we want to learn. What do you have to say? So eventually, I kind of had to warm them up a little bit. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I would say. My word of advice to all the dancers is just pay attention to detail, attention to every little thing your teacher has to say to you. I guess kind of going back to what we talked about, you haven't arrived. There's always things to work on, always things to improve on, and just attention to detail.
I love it. Well, George, you got to jump in here now. Speaking to our dancers or, collectively to dancers as a whole. These types of intensives, they're going through so many different teachers, different, learning new choreography in such a short amount of time. So we know, like, this is the fun challenge. Like, we're going to compress a lot of learning into a shorter amount of time. But I find when kids are there for several hours, it's like they get dialed in. Like the first hour, it's like, you're getting warmed up. And then all of a sudden something happens. They kind of zero in and then they're there. But as far as what you've experienced with the kids this week, any tips or shout outs or what? I mean,
shout outs?
Whatever you want to do.
I guess. I mean, I think I like what Isabelle said for sure, 1,000%. And I actually gave them a formula in class, one of the classes, because I like formulas. Yeah. And it was preparation plus practice plus patience equal perfection. Yeah. Right, because we're going for perfection. But then the interesting part is you cross off perfection because we're never going to arrive there, and it's actually excellence. So there's a quote. That's cool. I think it's Vince Lombardi, so I don't want to misquote him, but he says, like, we are going to chase perfection. Like, we are in the relentless pursuit of perfection. Yeah. Along the way, we will catch excellence. So, like, that's what I try to teach them.
I'm throwing another little golden nugget right there. That's two. That's two, man.
So that's what I wrote it on the board in one of the classes. So maybe
cool.
that stuck for them. But I think there's like I could talk about each part of that, the preparation, the practice, which is like real practice, not sloppy practice, but then also the patience, right? And just you prepare, you do it, you practice your butt off, but then it takes 7 years and you have to keep doing it over and over and over again.
Man.
And you're still shooting for perfection, but you're never actually going to get that. But you're going to find excellence. And no matter if it looks differently, like for me, like it looks completely different. I found my wife. That's pretty excellent. But so I love it. If that makes any sense. That's my advice for them.
I love it. I think, that is a great perspective on it. Like this is what we're aiming for. And you got to have a goal. Like you can't just be like aimlessly, looking for something. But I love what you said, being relentless. We're always pursuing, that artistry. And for our studios, what we really try and help our kids understand is, discover the artist within. That is our emphasis. You're discovering it. And the only way you're going to do that is through these types of formulas. And, you're not going to find it if you're not trying. Easy things to be had in this earth, that comes by anybody. With the hard, difficult things that are worthwhile, that's the stuff you want to be relentless towards. And I think watching, ballerinas like spend a lifetime to reach at the level that you're dancing at. People look at like a highlight reel. They're like, oh, that's awesome. I want to do that. And you're like, yeah, that's a lot of time. And you should have this type of goal. And where it leads you, it may be different between you and me, but at least you have a great target to aim towards, and what you'll discover in the process, what that might branch out off on, might be something totally different. And I know like in our studios, I've watched kids go from maybe a competitive company to a ballet company, or vice versa, go the other way. And it's like, you have a goal each year, but in the process of that goal, you're discovering what it is you love, what motivates you, what inspires you, what makes you want to get up and move in the studio. And it might be towards ballet, the way you run. I've got some that are like, oh, I'm all about that hip hop. I love it. I love that freestyle, that flow. Others like, oh, jazz all day long, turns, kicks, leaps. I want to do 20 turns in a row. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, like that's awesome. But it's neat to see like through their own discovery, through the eyes of a child, what it is that they love that makes them who they are. And I think this is the gift of artistry. It has the power to reveal things that are hidden in you. And if you didn't start till 15, there's no excuses out there, gentlemen. No excuses, just opportunities. Yeah. So I love that. That's awesome. Well, so in continuing with the ballet intensive, we did our show-offs today. Any other tips or things you noticed, or even other encouragements you'd love to give to our kids at the studio?
One thing I noticed, I guess it'd be a tip, encouragement, is dance as if you are, even though it's an in-studio showcase, dance as if you are on stage. Everybody in the room has paid $1,000 a ticket to come watch you dance. Like, you own the stage. Like, come out with that level of confidence and just joy through your dancing. If you are joyful as you're dancing, and it shows through your expression and through your body movements, the audience is going to feel that too. Yeah. Where sometimes we feel that inside, but we don't let it show. So, I am assuming all of the dancers felt a level of joy as they were dancing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this, right? Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't show, and you just need to be over the top with that and just completely let it flow out, because truly it's a gift to the audience. And I think that's part of the joy of being a dancer, is to gift that to the audience. Yeah. So just don't hold back.
I love it. And it's like, again, it's that feeling of like, oh, I'll wait till the big stage. I'll wait till the big moment. And I'm like, no, if you do that, you might not be prepared, and you might not have that excellence that you're talking about. So if you're doing it, whether it's for an audience of 5 or an audience of 5,000, right, it should feel and look the same, right? Right. So when you've done some of these shows and you're doing like dress rehearsal, you're not just marking it and walking through with basic facial emotions, right? You're going full out.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you know what? Even in the classroom, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's just become a standard practice for me. Even in the classroom, even when nobody's watching, even if you're in the studio by yourself, it's
Yeah.
just part of your nature as a dancer. You just dance with emotion.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. Every teacher right now is like, yes, thank you. Thank you. Because it is like, like, oh, it's summertime now. Or maybe it's been a long week. It was a really long week, for these kids. And so now we're trying to pull you out of that last bit of your comfort zone and to squeeze out that artistry and show everybody what you've learned through the course of the week. But there's a big difference between dancing with a very solemn face and you're just like lit up. And I don't know what it is for you, but like when you watch dances on stages, like there's always kids that just all of a sudden they're like little radiant beams, and you're like, I can't help keep looking at this kid. It's just drawing me in. Like they're just eating this up, and like even like with recital dances or competitive dances or our ballet company, we got all these different types of performances, but you see those moments.
Exactly. And I always tell my students that it's not that it's all about you, but if you are placed in a dance and you're in the very back of the stage, way in the back, you don't think anybody can see you, be the one that they're looking at.
Yeah.
Be the one who's just beaming and the audience can't help but watch you.
Drawn in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel it. I mean, especially as a guy dancer, like you already are going to stand out more so, statistically. So like you can't just be like, well, whatever, like just putting in my average performance here. So what would you say to the fellas out there,
Oh man. I mean, I think it just goes back to the confidence again.
Yeah.
Like I said, in whatever role you're playing or whatever dance you're doing, like I just honestly have so much fun with it. Yeah. So that's what everything Isabelle said. She's way better at this than me. So
no, it's great.
I would just say like, again, it doesn't matter, like, because you flip the switch, even if you don't feel like doing it, like you can turn it on.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a decision that you make like before, like you decide to commit. So if you're going to play the role, if you're going to go to class, if you're going to be in the show, like you signed up to do it. So then like the commitment includes showing up a certain way.
If you sign up, then you better show up.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That's it.
There's my golden nugget. Yeah. If you sign up, you better show up, baby.
It's awesome.
No, but
it's a pre-decision, right? So it's not like in the moment, like, oh, like should I smile today or not? Like, no, like if you're there, like you better be wearing the smile and
smiling's my favorite, man.
So,
like if you need inspiration, you can go watch the movie Elf and make smiling your favorite, But that's awesome. Well, I appreciate that, and again, there's so much that you guys have learned and grown through, and we get little moments to share with these kids and these parents, and a lot of them, if parents haven't danced before, they're going like, hey, how do I help my kids? So what would be some good advice for parents that are supporting their kids? Maybe they're beginning to take dance a little more serious. Like, what would you say to the parents out there?
I have parents at my own studio who ask me that same question. And I think one thing to understand is you don't need to be the teacher as the parent. I think that sometimes parents put that on themselves. Like, okay, well, the teacher says my kid is struggling with this and that in class, the turn or leap or whatever it might be. But it's not your responsibility as the parent to help them with that necessarily. But what you can help them with is encouraging them to work their hardest, to pay attention, again, listen to their teachers, listen in class. Don't goof off in the corner and talk to your friends when the teacher's talking, because you miss a lot of details there. I think that's where parents can really help their kids. And on top of that, I know that your school studies Cicchetti Ballet, and so does mine. And with that, you have to go home and you have to study the theory, the basic steps, and you have it all written out in a booklet for you. And I don't know if your dancers have the music at home that they can practice to, but I think that as a parent, I tell my parents, just have your kid write out their theory on flashcards, basic steps, practice, remember what the teacher said, take notes, review those at home.
That's beautiful. You know, and that is a real touchy subject, you know, and I appreciate you going there because parents, we want to help. You know, I have 3 kids. Like, I want to help my kid. There's like that advantageous ambition, you know, I want to help them get ahead. But it's really neat to be like, trust the process, trust the people who are working with your kids daily, and like kind of knowing where you as a parent, you can be hands-on, but there are portions where you need to be hands-off because you can't learn it for them. You can't work it for them. You can't practice for them. So really, like, it's got to come from them, right?
Right.
So I love that. So parents, take a load off, you know, encourage your kids, right? Practice with the tools, the tips, the training, the booklets that are given to you to go in there and work and let them, you know, struggle to grow. And that's what I like to see is like, I want you to struggle because you're working on growth, not struggle because you're not trying.
Right. Exactly.
So, well, you brought up Cicchetti, and it'd be just a shame if I did not let you expand a little bit on how far you've certified and grown through that, and some of the benefits for kids that are interested in maybe going this route.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
I began studying Cicchetti when I was 11 years old, and I have taken every student exam, grades 1 through diploma, which is kind of like the 8th level, as well as every teacher exam. Teacher grade 1 through diploma. I just took my final diploma exam. I believe it was last spring.
Was it last spring?
Was it last spring or 2 springs ago?
Is that where you met Miss Dana?
I met her just after I had
It
taken
was,
it.
okay. I was trying to remember which timeline. Yeah, we were
I
on.
think it was last May.
Okay.
Last May, 2022.
And so, and if you don't mind, how many years did it take for you to grow through?
Let's see. I started when I was 11, and
Okay.
I believe I took that exam when I was 23?
Yeah.
23 or 24.
Okay.
I can't.
So it takes some time.
Oh yeah, it takes time, and to be honest, I'm going to be completely honest. I took that pretty fast. All in all 16 exams. Most people take their time. Most people don't even take that diploma exam.
Really?
Period. But
Yeah.
if they do, it's like later in life after they go off, they dance professionally, they'll come back,
And then
they'll maybe dive back into their Cicchetti training. But
Yeah.
it's a big undertaking.
Yeah. Well, and then for those that like, what are some of the best parts of it that I'd say that you've carried with you kind of into your dance career now?
I think the best part of the Cicchetti method is just
Yeah.
that it builds. I mean, from grade 1, and you pass that, go on to grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, so on. It all builds on each other. So each
Okay.
new level that you enter into, you're learning new material, yet it's so closely related to the
Gotcha.
previous level, so that it's not overwhelming. It's such a great systematic way to grow as a dancer.
That's great.
It's really just a beautiful method. I can't speak highly enough of it. It's gotten me to where I am today, and I'm just so grateful for it.
That's
So,
great. I know we have a lot of students that have really taken this to heart and are really pursuing this. And I know with the certification process, it helps provide that kind of mental, you know, stair step to go like, yes, here's the levels you're progressing in. This is how you're growing. And, you know, I think, again, people have this sometimes idea like, oh, I'll just get there overnight. But being patient in that process, taking your time, really learning the material and like learning it to master it, not just to do it right once, you know?
exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I for my students, before they take an exam, like I won't present them until I know they're going to do their absolute best. Like, I don't want them to just pass the exam. I want them to pass with excellence.
Yeah.
Kind of as George was saying. And at the end of the day, that is so rewarding. It can be hard as a dancer and even as a parent to say like, well, why isn't my kid ready yet? Why am I not ready yet?
Yeah.
Well, you'll grow so much. If you just give it a little extra time, you develop so much more than you even realize. Then when you enter into the new level, you're that much more prepared and that much stronger.
I love it. Well, it's not rushing it. And it's allowing, you know, also your muscle development to align because it takes a lot of stamina to do this. And ballet is a very strict art form. So it's kind of like you could have it here, but if you don't physically have it, then you could be struggling, not because you don't know what you're supposed to do, because your body's just not ready to handle it. Right?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Oh, so totally
Okay.
fair to say. Exactly.
Perfect.
Age really
Yeah.
plays a big part in it too.
Cool.
Just maturity does wonders.
I love it. No, this is so good. This is what we want to do. We want to dive into the nitty gritty. And, again, when you're coming in out of the studio, you don't get a chance to really catch everybody and share this type of depth. But that's kind of the goal of the show, is just to bring people into the conversation with people who really do it and do it well and can say, hey, like, give yourself some time, like, I don't know what the end goal of you to be somewhere, because there's always going to be something further to pursue and grow, right?
Yes.
And and have you had those moments where you're like, I'll be so happy once I get this accomplished, and then only to arrive, and you're like, that wasn't fulfilling as much as I thought it could be. I wish I would have enjoyed some of that journey a little more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in that place right now. I mean, I've taken all the exams I can take in this method. And I was anticipating that feeling of like, I've arrived. I don't have any more exams to take. It's going to feel so good. And in a way it does feel good. But then another part of me is I want to grow more.
Yeah.
And even in the process, like I don't necessarily think that I should have slowed it down more, but I think there's no rush. There's no rush to the growth.
Yeah. Well, it's when you're making that growth change, again, I think it's important that our young people really hear this. Good things take time. Everybody wants quick pace. You can have microwave food, or you can have like gourmet restaurant style food, and you tell me which one's better, right? Like, one gets the job kind of done. The other one, you dine, you enjoy, you experience. And I think we've kind of lost that because everything's so like fast. I want it now. I want to be on point shoes. You're like, you just started ballet this year, and that's hard for like new kids to learn. Like, okay, that's your goal. I love it. Okay, it's gonna be a while,
Right?
And you're like, wait, what? And we really pride ourselves. We don't rush that process. We want to make sure kids are really ready mentally, physically, and able to be able to dance on point, not just get up on point. And it's like, oh gosh, when you see those commercials and it's like a 6-year-old on point shoes and everybody's like, oh, why? What are you doing? It's like some marketing agency has no clue of anything, but they're like, this kid looks cute. Let's put him on point shoes right? Does that like make you cringe when you see
absolutely.
it? Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm like, oh, you be careful, you could damage this kid. And again, point is such an extensive process, right?
Yeah. Point is totally. It's more than just, can your feet allow you to get up on your shoes too. I think it's your ability and your strength as a dancer as a whole, and that relates to your core strength. Even your artistry. I would say your artistry. How much control do you have over your body as a whole? Not just your ankles, not just your toes. There's a lot that goes into whether you're ready for point or not.
Well, and I'm sure you've seen kids, like, you look when they're on point, it looks effortless, right? When they reach that point. And then the kids that get up there and look like they're walking on stilts. And you're like, you need a little more time, like, let's, I don't know where you got started, but like, you need a little more time before you're ready. And that's hard mentally to go like, wait, I need to slow down. Like, I want to progress. I want to push ahead. And, like, what would you tell a kid who was like, maybe, given point shoes before they were ready? Like, what would you say to them if like they came to you in your studio and you're like, ooh,
yeah,
yikes.
and it's happened before.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
And what I say is, okay, well, we're going to put the point shoes aside for right now, and we're going to work on your technique.
Yes.
We're going to focus on your technique. Now, they're still there.
Yeah.
As long as you don't grow out of them, but they're still there. Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there at some point. That. But for right now, we need to focus on the first step ahead, which is your safety.
Yes.
Your safety as a dancer and your growth, back to growth. So
I love it. Well, it's good. I think, again, we hit a lot of points today as far as like challenging yourself, growing, balancing, how you're progressing. And, we want you guys to know, like, every artist that I come into contact with is like, I believe in these kids. I want it for them. Sometimes even almost more so because you see the potential and you've been there. So you're like, oh, like, I know what phase you're in. I know what mentally you're grinding through. I know what physically you're getting more mature in, and you're almost there. So like, you can see the finish line, but as a dancer, sometimes you don't, right? So like, what other words of maybe of encouragement, even George, maybe you can say, like, when you as a teacher see the potential in the kid, but you know they need time to process that potential to grow towards the excellence you talk about?
I don't know if this answers your question, but I just said this
Yeah.
to Isabelle yesterday. 'Cause we were talking about how I started when I was 15.
Yeah.
You know, every kid I see who's like 15 or younger, I'm like, "Psh, you're already way better than I was when I was, because I hadn't even started. I didn't even know what a plie was yet. So you're light years ahead of me where I was. But I think there's a lot of things you could say about potential, right?
Yeah.
Because I think potential at some point means absolutely nothing without, we always say, without performance. So
Yeah.
potential without performance, because if you just have potential, it's only potential energy. Like at some point it has to turn into something.
Yes.
Otherwise it's nothing. It doesn't actually
Yeah.
materialize. So that's what I would focus on, is like everything we've been talking about, just like the practice over time and the patience to get there. And my advice is to, again, do what I did. If you want to do it, like if you actually want to be in this field, like, do I think it's going to be easy for you? Like, no, but you love it. So it's worth it 1,000%.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you need to go all in. So you need to, if you're in class for a couple hours a day, but you still need to associate yourself and wrap your identity into like an artist or a dancer, or like, this is who you are. And that's just what you do. So then the rest of your day and your studying and your posture as you're sitting up, and like your nutrition and your mindset and everything else needs to be all in on that if you really want to do it and go all in on it. So
I love it. I think that's like the elite mindset, is looking at the grand scope of it. And I know, like, at these kids, these are like really defining moments for them, you know, like their self-discovery, learning who they are, but, you know, having the perseverance to kind of push through those areas, right?
Yeah. And then because we kind of talked about this too, like, you don't know what you're going to get out the other side, but I found that everything that you go all in on, you get something out of it. So even if it's that you're going to not dance anymore and you're going to go to college and study chemistry and become a doctor, like, you're going to be a more poised, confident doctor than you would if you hadn't done that, right? So I wouldn't just look at it as like, oh, being a professional ballet dancer in New York is the, like, where you really want to be. Maybe that's one of your goals, but you might get something else out of it.
Something else. Yeah. No, I love it. I think, gosh, man, you guys really, you know, hit it today, and I appreciate it, because it is cool to hear outsiders coming in and, you know, sharing from your background, and you dance professionally. You've been in the mix of it. You know the artists that are still in it, and I know you've probably seen some people who've left it, and it's bittersweet. And sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's not. And like that's that crazy, wonderful journey of artistry, is like where you start is never going to be where you end up. But my goodness, how great is it when you develop really good life skill that takes everywhere you end up, and it brings what you did growing up with you, and you want the best qualities for that. So I think it's a blessing to have you guys in this industry and be able to give your hearts, lives, and talent and time to all this, to the process of growth in their kids. And, you know, thank you for coming out to the intensive and teaching them, and hope we can continue on to kind of collaborate. And I know you're states away, but the beautiful thing about dance, it's a small world, right?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you're always one person away from knowing the other person who you both know, right?
Yeah.
So,
sure. But no, it's been great, and thank you for having us and to teach and on the podcast. It's been really fun.
Awesome.
And I just want to say that to anyone else who's listening, like, this guy right here and his team and all the teachers here are, from what we've seen behind the scenes and stuff he's shared, just like, holy smokes, the vision and the passion that he has for you all, specifically the kids. You have a lot to be grateful for, and it's pretty special when you see it. So
wow.
Thank you.
Hey, wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, George said it so well. So well. I hope, I'm sorry. I swear he didn't tell us to say this, but I hope you all realize, like, how much passion and love for you all that Jonathan has and the whole team. It's just, it really is beautiful to see. And it's not common. You don't see that everywhere. So it's a gift.
Wow. Well, thank you. We'll wrap up on that. I mean, gosh, that was great, guys. So thank you for coming out and being a part of the show. And for you all out there who are dancing, trying, progressing, improving, keep going, enjoy the journey, and see where it leads. I'm your host, Jonathan Chatham. Thank you for joining us on the podcast at the Dance Studio Network. Until next time, we'll see where it goes. Thank you all.
See ya.